everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kim, and on this channel I talk all things personal finance, lifestyle, living in the city, and also I'm documenting my journey to get rid of $80,000 worth of debt. So in today's video, we are going over my very first monthly reset. I am extremely excited to document this monthly reset just because I have never done anything like this before. I've never really tracked how I perform on a monthly basis, and just looking back at things that I was able to accomplish and things that I still am continuing to work on. So I'm very excited for this. I also cannot believe it's March. I know that February is like a very short month, but I feel like I really just wished that February would fly by, and it actually did. So I'm very happy about that. I'm also very happy because I have Caribbean blood and I do not like the cold. And so being based in New York, obviously I have many months of the cold. And so I'm very excited to see warmer temperatures and hopefully be able to go out and enjoy, just hanging out with friends more, experiencing more parts of the city now that it's warm, and also kind of bringing along my financial journey with that, and spending on things that are experiences and being able to actually see, what the city has to offer. And yeah, just being able to enjoy life a little bit more, especially now that I am in the later half of paying off my credit card debt. I feel like, I can enjoy, not a lot, but definitely, spend a little bit more on things that I value and things that I am prioritizing. Okay, so let's get started with February. So in this video, I want to walk you guys through things that I have enjoyed doing in February, and or reading, and or any updates that I have that are relevant to like my financial journey and just things that I'm working on in my life. So first and foremost is reading. I typically don't read too much physical books. I do listen to podcasts and I listen to books on Audible. I just find like it's more entertaining, especially if I'm driving or if I'm, on the train. I can just put my headphones in and focus. But I actually lost my phone last weekend and I had to get a new one. And so in that 2-day period, I had to find things to do. Couldn't listen to music. Couldn't really do much on the train, and so I had to find something to do. So I thought might as well just start with some books that I already have on my bookshelf, which is way too many that I have not read, but I do have lots of books. And so one book that I actually purchased last year is basically I purchased it to, just read more about discipline. And it was more so when I was very active in my weight loss journey. I still am very active, but I was trying to find other things to sort of tie into it, to keep, working toward my progress. And so I actually picked up a book last year, haven't read it up until now. And so I read it in 2 days. It's very short. It's called Make Your Bed. So this is actually what it is here. I'm not sure if you can read the title, but it is by William McRaven. It is a fantastic book. I would give it a 10 out of 10 only because I am the type of person that if I sense that I already know the information in the book, I get very disengaged. This book didn't give me new information per se, but I do think that the way that he presents the information is very intriguing to me. He actually is like an ex-Navy SEAL, and he talks about all of the lessons that he learned while he was in training and puts it into the perspective of how you can apply those lessons. And so hence the name, Make Your Bed, like just everyday things that you can do to work on your discipline. And I think for me, it's very applicable and very practical. These are just things that I can do on a day-to-day basis. And I actually have been trying to get better about making my bed first thing in the morning, just because that is, the first thing that you get to accomplish throughout the day. And then that's even if you had like a hard day, he says in the book, you get to come home and your bed is made and you just kind of plop if you need to. So I definitely appreciated those lessons. And I do feel like he has a really great way of telling a story that really just keeps you engaged. So like I said, I read that book because I lost my phone. So the way that I lost my phone, I think I am the type of person that I need to just relax in the morning, have a slow morning, or just, get stuff done. But I can't like overwhelm myself with things on social media, or, I'm not that type of person to be on social media all the time anyway. And so I think that morning I was on social media and I wasn't really listening to my body. And so I just became overwhelmed, and I felt a little hazy. So I went shopping, and I think I either put my phone down on a shelf and someone took it from there, or someone just took it straight off of my cart. And I was actually at Target, and there weren't many people there, so I'm actually shocked that it happened. And I noticed within like 2 minutes, and nobody had reported a phone. I waited a little while, no one had reported it, so I just was able to get it. So I actually went to the phone store. I went to my carrier, and I had to pay a deductible. I was definitely sad and a little mad that it happened, but I was also very grateful that I had the opportunity to be able to put it on a card. Obviously that wasn't something I budgeted for. It was not included in my budget at all. I wouldn't even have a line in my budget to say like, just in case I lose my phone, I wouldn't do that. So again, I was very grateful that I had the available credit, because I just kept thinking, well, what if I wouldn't have paid off my cards? And I wouldn't have had that available, and I wouldn't have had any money, right? Like I wouldn't have any possibility to replace my phone, even though I pay insurance every single month to it. And it just made me realize, right, like the importance of at least having something that you can do it, because even if I would have pulled from savings, I still would have had to wait 2 days for it to hit my account to then be able to get a phone. And then I would have had to wait probably 2 to 3 more days so that they can actually get the phone, because I wasn't upgrading, right? So that's not the phone that they have in store. I have an older phone. And so I think just the whole thing kind of made me realize just the importance of, again, having something that you can kind of go back to. And granted, it's not the best to be able to use a credit card, but at the very least, that's something that I can pay fairly quickly. And now I have a phone. So that was great. After that, after I read the book, going back to that, I actually started another book. So I was searching for plenty of books, and the organization that I work for actually has just random books kind of laying around, and so I picked up one, and I picked up one, and then I had started another one. So the one that I started was The Millionaire Next Door. So this is the book here. And it is by Thomas Stanley and William D. Danko. I'm not done with it. I actually just started it, and I right now would give it, I would say, in terms of practical information, I would give it probably a 9 out of 10, just because it does have a lot of information that is super helpful to know. It is a little bit outdated, though, I would say. I think this book came out in like 2010 or 2014 or something. So it has been, 10 years since the study came out. But basically, if you haven't heard of The Millionaire Next Door, it's a book, fantastic information about just like millionaires in the country and worldwide, and kind of like heritage, I guess, their heritage, and also just like how they became millionaires. And it talks a lot about, like, statistically, basically most millionaires, at least in the US, are self-made, they're first gen. They reach millionaire status by the age of 50. A lot of them, or most of them, are entrepreneurs. And so it kind of shows you, right, like the ways to become more affluent, or at least statistically, right, how the millionaires and, you know, decamillionaires have been able to achieve their wealth. And so kind of opens your eyes to information you might not have, you might already know, right? Such as like, if you're in a 9 to 5, more than likely, you know, if you're working up until 65, more than likely you're not a millionaire. But these are the ways that they've been able to achieve it, things like that. So it might not be information that is new necessarily, but I think it presents it in a way that is interesting. In terms of my interest in it, or the presentation and the layout, I would give that more so of a like 3 or 4, just because I feel like it's a study, right? And it's not supposed to be super entertaining, but I do feel like it's a missed opportunity to present information that can be, it's dry, but like you can make it very entertaining, and or at least present it in a way that's more interesting. But again, it's a study, right? It does exactly what it needs to do, present you with information. But for me specifically, I would have liked to have seen it in a different format. And I think that, you know, was a missed opportunity for some readers, but for some readers it works, right? So that's just my take on the book. I know it's a really great book. A lot of people really, really, really love the book. But I think it's just more so the information that you can get from it rather than the storytelling behind it. And the third book that I actually started that I am loving, loving, loving so far is The Black Girl's Guide to Financial Freedom. This is by Paris Woods. And this book, I am about halfway done. I started reading it probably 2 days ago. Yeah, today's Sunday. I started reading it on Friday. I am almost done with the book. I'm halfway done. And I would say I love the way that Paris presents the information. This is definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. Again, I don't think it's new information that I am reading, right? So it talks about debt, right? Student loans, which I have, so I have experience in. It talks about credit cards, which I also have, so I have experience in, right? It starts talking about how to pay down debt, kind of like the traps of marketing, right? To kind of keep you in the loop, in the cycle of spending money on a credit card. It talks so much about just like everyday things that we encounter as consumers, overconsumption, right? I think it is a fantastic book for a high schooler to read, just so that they're aware of the things that are out there as soon as they turn 18. I'm actually thinking about, you know, taking a chapter or two from this book and like making it into a lesson for the students that I'm working with, just because I feel like it's so essential for them to know this information, and I'm really, really passionate about it. But I think, again, it's the way that the information is presented, right? So she talks about reading books from Dave Ramsey to Robert Kiyosaki's, you know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, just like so many different frameworks that you can use to basically just decide how you want to spend your money, right? And how you want to live your life. And for that reason, I think it should be a 10 out of 10. It talks a lot about like, and it's even actually contributed to me reconsidering like how much I actually want to dive into real estate, because especially right now with the crisis that's happening in real estate, it's very interesting, right? Like just the thought of like, do I really want to go that much into debt? Is debt really worth it? Or do I just how do I want to feel on an everyday basis? Do I just want to feel like I'm more financially free, or am I looking to just, you know, have a lot of properties? And yes, while the value goes up and people can pay you and you rent out to people, you still kind of have this like thought in the back of your mind, like, wow, I'm actually, you know, $1 million or more than $1 million into debt, right? And so it's just making me rethink just like how it is that I want to wake up feeling every single day, right? When you're a renter, you don't have that, right? You don't have that, like, and yes, you are contributing to someone else's wealth, but it's also like you can go up and move whenever you want, right? You can move into a house if you want the feeling of a house. You don't have to own the house, right? It's just like a different responsibility. And again, it's making me rethink that. And I definitely want to decide before I myself, try to get into debt or start a family, things like that. Just like decisions that I feel like I would want to make before I go into all of that. But yes, the book is very, very good. And I think everybody should read it. Again, it might not be new information, but I think it's information that's presented in a way that could make you rethink a lot. And it wasn't like something that she encountered when she was like really young in terms of the success. She actually talks about her journey in the learning, right, of how to become successful, and how to become wealthy, right, and how to make your money work for you. So once again, 10 out of 10, definitely recommend. I will keep you guys posted as I continue reading. And yeah, I'm very, very, very excited about it. As you can see, I think it's just great to have information that kind of like plays in the back of your mind as you're making a decision, right? Especially when you're on a financial journey, just really thinking about what it is that's going to work for you, right? And how you can make your money work for you. Third update that I have for you guys is a credit card. So I actually had a Chase Amazon card, and I actually was able to close it. I paid it off and I closed it this month. And the reasoning behind that was because I sort of like to do a financial audit every now and then. I would say I think about it at least like every 2 or 3 months, just because I want to see what's working for me, what tools I'm actually using. And if I'm not using them, then why have them? And so even though I'm able to have that like credit amount, right? And so it adds to the available credit, I wasn't using it. And I actually called Chase, and I wanted to know if I can change to a more competitive card. And they told me no. So the Chase Amazon card, actually, you're not able to upgrade it. You only have, if you have the Prime one, great. But you're not able to upgrade it to a different card. So for me, this is the digital equivalent of having a store card, which it is, right? Amazon is a store. You use it for that purpose. So that would be the same thing as having like a TJ Maxx credit card or like a Gap credit card. And just in my financial journey, I've been able to have so many store cards and recognize that they're really not useful when it comes to other benefits. And so I was just thinking to myself, why do I have this card? It's the same thing as having a store card. So I actually closed it. Now I'm down to 3 credit cards, which is great. And I'm actually looking into the benefits of them, so that I can, just take advantage of all of the rewards that they have and use them for different things, right? So I have a Capital One card, which is actually a really great card to have like benefits for travel. I have a Discover card, which I think I just use for everyday things. And then I have a Citibank card. So eventually I'll just keep shifting around. I used to have an American Express card. I closed it because I wasn't taking advantage of the rewards as much as I would have liked. And so for me, it didn't offset the cost of having one, and it just wasn't worth it. So I closed that card for that reason. And we will continue to do financial audits, and just kind of see what has been working for me. And I'm not afraid of closing a card. I haven't opened a card, but I'm not afraid of closing them, especially as I sort of measure, right? Like, okay, this card doesn't have any balance on it. Can I increase the credit limit? Things like that. And just I play around with that a lot to continue, right, to grow my available credit and stuff like that. And then finally, I have 2 more updates and then we will go into March, I promise. I finally filed my taxes. I filed my taxes as early as I could, only so that I can get the refund. I am single. I do not have any children. And so I do pay a lot in taxes, but the refund that I'm getting, I'm hoping to just, get it into my savings as quickly as possible, so I can build up my emergency savings. And as I said before, I'm actually really focusing on that because I didn't have it. And then my job is sort of like restructuring, right? So I recognize that there is an urgent need for me to make sure that I have the savings in there. And then finally, I was actually accepted into a training program for Salesforce. So many of you might not know that I'm in education currently. I'm an educator, but I'm very interested in Salesforce and jumping into tech, right? Not necessarily just Salesforce, but I think Salesforce is a good way for me to start to get into technology. So I want to make that transition. I definitely see myself in the future working from home and doing tech. And I've always been interested in tech, but I was very discouraged when I was in college, and they actually eliminated the computer science major the year that I got there. So I wasn't able to do that. There was like a big push for like biology and other sciences, but not for technology at my school. So I sort of missed the mark. And I recognized that I could have done a lot about it, but I also didn't have guidance at the time. And for me, it was just easier to just stay in school and major, in my major. So yeah, I think now it's just like going back in time. And so yes, the point is I got accepted to a program. It is through Salesforce itself. So I'm very, very excited about it. They actually work with mentors and help you just get the mentorship that you need. And for me, I haven't had many mentors. I had like one mentor, but only for like a year, and it wasn't really like the best relationship. I would say, because it was more academic focused and less like life focused or career oriented. And this would be my first time hopefully having like a mentor that can actually guide me through. And, I've been asking the universe for one for a long time. So I'm hoping that this is very, very helpful for me. And I'm actually very hopeful, and excited for it. So for March, now that we are diving into March, for March, I have sort of structured it so that I am working on specific skills, and that sort of provides like a framework for me, or a goal, if you will, to, continuously work toward that. So, personally, the only skill that I would be working on personally is my discipline. I definitely have a lot of goals that have to deal with discipline. And if I stick to that, I should be good to achieve those goals. So I'm very excited for that. And professionally, I would say, back to Salesforce. I'm working on Salesforce. Throughout the program, it'll probably be like maybe 2 or 3 months that I'm working on Salesforce, just so I can hunker down and make sure that I master it so that I'm able to pass the certification. So for a while, my skill to work on for March and other months most likely will be Salesforce. And then after that, I'm thinking data, but we will reevaluate once we're done with Salesforce, because I think, the best way to achieve something is to have a one-track mind. And for me, I absolutely have to focus on the one thing, which is Salesforce. For my financial goals, I first and foremost want to only spend $300 on my credit card, outside of my budget. So technically I'm budgeting softly for it. Like I'm already thinking that I can hopefully just spend $300. But I have that. Then I have my goal of paying off $2,000 for my credit card. So that will be on there. And I actually think that that's really achievable this month. I don't have many expenses. It's my mom's birthday. So that's the only expense that I can think of that's outside of my usual expenses. So I'm budgeting for that. And also I want to do a balance transfer on one of my cards. For personal goals, I have to finish this book, The Millionaire Next Door. I also have to finish this book, The Black Girl's Guide to Financial Freedom, which I'm very excited for both. Then I have to study at least 1 hour for Salesforce every single week. I don't think that that'll be difficult, My worry is just that that will be too little time. So we will reevaluate every single week and see kind of how we're projected to move. Then I want to get to 50 subscribers on YouTube. It has been difficult, I would say. I'm getting some traction from, you know, just like shorts. But I do feel like the more I post, the more I will be able to see growth. And I'm very hopeful that we can get to 50, if not 100. But I think that 50 is doable, at least for the month. And then we'll sort of, you know, continue from there. And then I want to also budget money for myself. So let me explain that. I always budget for myself, but I budget to, you know, if I want cookies, right? Or if I want a random shirt or something, I always give myself like a very small budget. Or if one day I forget lunch and I, you know, want to buy lunch at a deli, I can do that. Because I was so focused on paying off my credit cards, I wasn't budgeting any money for myself to spend on getting my hair done or getting my nails done, things that I actually genuinely enjoy to do, or even, you know, going out with a friend, grabbing a couple of drinks, right? I wasn't doing that. And so I think, like I said earlier in the video, now that I am at the end, more like I would say closer to the end of of my credit card debt journey, I want to just make sure that I am including things like that in my budget, right? I'm not saying I'm overspending or now I can enjoy 7 vacations. Definitely not. But I do want to budget for things that make me feel good, right? Like I love getting my nails done, but I wasn't doing that. I was just painting my nails at home. And sometimes I just don't want to do that, right? Like I'm not saying that I will get my nails done every week, but I also want to enjoy the money that I'm working for, right? So if I can include that in my budget and spend responsibly, why not be able to do that? And yeah, just not feel guilty about it. Like I actually went to the salon yesterday. I, you know, was able to get my hair done, I got my nails done, but I felt so guilty just even deciding to do that because I was thinking to myself, wow, that's money that I can send toward a bill. That's money that I can send, you know, somewhere else. But if I'm being more responsible with my money and this is like a monthly expense or like every 3 weeks or whatever it is, then I don't see why I can't do that if, again, right, I have the budget for it. And of course, if I needed to not do that for a while again, I will do that. And I'm not saying that it will happen every single month, but at least for right now, how I'm feeling, you know, spring is here. So it's just, I think for now, I want to budget for myself, for my things that I value, right? Okay, so now what we are actually here for is my financial budget reset. I hope this video is not too long, but my financial budget reset. So I want to show you guys, I actually purchased a template, which I'm very, very, very excited about, because it actually is, first of all, very pretty, but second, it actually shows me everything that I need to know and helps me classify things in a way that obviously is personal to me and I can see all of my expenses that way. All right, so this is my budget for the month of, this was February actually. Let me go through February. So I just put in my paycheck for my 2 paychecks. So I got paid on the 15th and the 28th. So I was able to bring in a lot, not a lot. I was able to only bring in 5,590, also because I brought in the Discover rewards for 35.81. And so basically so I brought this, so let me zoom in here a little bit. So this is the amount, and this is kind of like, these are the savings, right? These are what I needed to kind of put in. my goal is to get to at least 10,000 by the end of the year for my savings. So there we are. And so these are the bills that I had right here. And then from there, I'm able to plug in kind of like my expenses, right? Just things that again, this is very personal. So I was able to obviously just put in what applies to me. Things like food, right? Entertainment, all that stuff. So I love this budget because it actually helps me see kind of like what I planned for in these beautiful little graphs, what I planned for versus what I actually spent. And then over here, it gives me kind of like what I was able to contribute to right this past month. So as you can see, my debt took about 30% versus my savings that took, 46 or basically almost 47%, expenses and bills, things like that. So I just plugged everything in for this past month. Overall, I feel like I didn't do that bad, only because I was able to really stick to my cash, kind of like using my debit card. I was able to stick to that the most. I did spend on my credit card though. I spent quite a bit on my credit card. I think it was about 2,000. Then I was able to put in another 1,000 for the payment. So I do have outstanding like 1,000 for the month. But I will, be paying that off fairly quickly. But yeah, like I said, right, I spent a lot, more than I thought I would on my credit card, but overall, in terms of my budget for cash, I did pretty good. Some things that I noticed about this template, again, this is my first time using a budget template. I did have like some sort of budget that I was using before. First and foremost, I was using like paper budget. Then I moved to a digital budget. I created my Excel budget myself. But then after that, I was using like a budget template, but I was more so using the debt template for it. So I was keeping track of my debts, but I wasn't necessarily planning for the money. And so this, as a first time user of this, I've noticed two things. First is as a 9 to 5 worker, because I get paid every 2 weeks, it sort of seems like I can plan ahead, right, with this budget, which is the point. But also like I'm sort of working backwards, right? Like the transaction that comes in and I'm plugging in here for February 28th was from the paycheck that I got from February 15th. So it's kind of interesting to think about things like that. And then two, I noticed that I do have a lot of extra things coming out of my account. Not necessarily an expense, but like for instance, if I'm with my partner and I purchase something at a store to get the points on my credit card, then he gives me the cash. And so now I have to say like, okay, I'm actually not plugging that into the planner, into the budget template, because it's not necessarily an expense and it's not extra income, right? And if I do that, then it'll classify as extra income or like an additional expense. So it's just kind of like balancing, right, like what it looks like specifically for you. And so that has been kind of tricky to navigate. But so far, I love that I can do that. So that was February. Now jumping into March, I actually plugged in the numbers already. So I'm only expecting to get money from my 9 to 5 this month because I don't have, anything else coming in. The Discovery Rewards was just like for last month. I wasn't able to, again, I'm not putting money on there, so I'm not able to get those rewards, right? So my goal for this month, it's actually supposed to be 2,100 because I'm putting in 1,050 per month. Per paycheck. So it's supposed to be 2,100. So that's great. That probably changes. Yep, that changes that amount. And then I'm not putting anything into my investments. And so these are my actual bills. They stay the same. I plugged in the numbers here for what I'm projected to spend. Hopefully I don't spend anything else and I didn't forget a bill, but I think pretty much across the board, this is everything that's in there. And then for expenses in terms of groceries, so bills would be my fixed expenses, and then these expenses would be like variable expenses. So I might spend more or I might spend less on groceries, things like dining out. I might not spend that amount at all. gas, right? Sometimes I go out on the weekends with my partner, or I use my partner's car, and so I would budget for gas and kind of like, you know, moving around. I don't anticipate any shopping this month, and like I said, I do want to get more serious about spending money just on me. And so for beauty, I put in $100. We'll see if we spend that. Gifts, like I mentioned before, it is my mom's birthday this month, and so I do anticipate buying her a gift. So I gave myself $100 for that. It might be less, it might be more. More than likely, it's not going to be more, right? I'm thinking maybe taking her to dinner, or like purchasing a massage for her, something sweet that we can do. And then, you know, any budget that I have left over. So like I said, that is it. And then for my debts, you know, I have my fixed payment, which is my student loans. And I actually got this number from what was left over, which I was budgeting for. But I think as I go into my actual paycheck, I'll be able to budget more concretely, and then I'll put in the number that I actually spent in there. And so I did not, even though I did go to the salon this week, yesterday, which was March 1st, I'm not putting that in there because I'm not putting it for March. I'm putting it for February, just because it's with the February budget, if that makes any sense. So yes, so that is everything there. All right, so that kind of brings me to the end of this video. I'm very excited to share with you guys kind of like my journey. The next video I think will be like a budget breakdown video, specifically for my paycheck and how I allocated it. Just because I feel like it's helpful to kind of show, you know, like the things that I had to pay for throughout the week. So not throughout the week, throughout the 2 weeks of the paycheck. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am very excited to keep sharing information with you all. If you like these types of videos, please like and subscribe. It definitely helps my channel, and I want to keep sharing a lot of information with you guys just about my journey and things that have been working for me, and hopefully just hear some tips from you guys as well, other things that you guys might want to see, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.